Alright, well, after that look at good old Mega Meh last time, I'm looking forward to getting back to Planet Mobius. Don't worry though, we're not going to have a huge gap between now and the other Mega Meh issues. Like I said during Mega Meh issue 1, we'll be alternating between that and Sonic until we've completed the Mega Meh series. Meh. It's issue 11 today, folks, and just look at that cover. Straight out of a classic cartoon, this one. It's another one that I really do like. It's goofy, it has nothing to do with the story itself, and it's bright and colorful. It's a fun scene. We open the book to part 1 of our first story, The Good, the Bad, and the Hedgehog. Don't get your hopes up though, folks. The homaging title, unfortunately, doesn't have much to do with the book itself. A pity. I would have loved to see the man with no name teaming up with Sonic. We see a few of the Freedom Fighters spying on a Robotnik factory that's pumping out massive amounts of polluted glop all around it. Sally uses a signal watch, because they totally have those now, to call up Sonic, because apparently the others can't think up a plan for themselves that doesn't involve him. Sonic, having just finished dismantling Scratch and Grounder's cameo for the issue, gets the signal but suddenly decides, for some reason, that he wouldn't be fast enough to get there just ordinarily going the speed of sound. So he decides to take a shortcut. And then we cut to him just casually entering the secret zone known as the Cosmic Interstate. Where did this portal come from? How did Sonic know about it? Why did he have to use it? These are all logical questions that will promptly be ignored from here on out. Thank you, and have a nice day. Sonic dashes down the twisting road, where some road signs are conveniently labeled as shortcuts, shorter cuts, and what have you. But when he goes down the one labeled the shortest cut, he ends up coming to a dead end. He doubles back and goes through another portal that drops him off into a world that he says looks and smells like Mobius, only everything is different. Great use of variety of the English language to your advantage, Sonic. He sees Robotnik's factory in the distance and speeds off towards it, but as he nears it, it turns into a large, clean-looking tower labeled as a veterinary clinic. Sonic steps inside to see what the heck is going on, coming across Dr. Robotnik, in a doctor's lab coat, treating an injured rabbit, who, despite not being anthropomorphic like Sonic and friends, is still able to speak just fine. Robotnik orders the animals to surround Sonic and hold him down, which only reinforces the idea that cute things are the most terrifying force in the world when in bulk. Sonic escapes through the top window of the tower, even though they only established him walking through the front door, and dashes off, slamming headfirst into himself in a leather jacket. We immediately step into part 2, where the two of them are circling one another, attempting to claim that they are the real Sonic. Sonic trips his double, attempting to figure out what the heck is going on. So despite knowing what the Cosmic Interstate is, he doesn't have any idea where he is or what's happening, but apparently his double does, and explains that he stumbled into an anti-universe, where everything that was good is bad, and vice versa. So in this universe, the Freedom Fighters are made up of a gang of leather-loving street punks, while Robotnik is a kind and benevolent ruler who operates a veterinary office. Sonic attempts to leave, intent on getting back to his world to assist his friends, but the anti-Sonic seems intent on keeping him here. We cut back to Mobius for a single panel, just to make sure that the other Freedom Fighters aren't dead yet. They aren't, and of course, they're still not doing anything about the sludge on their own. And then BAM! Back to Sonic and Anti-Sonic. They start to race one another around the planet, evenly matched. Remember, Anti-Sonic is supposed to be like Sonic in every way aside from his alignment, so for the first time in the comic, Sonic is actually faced with a challenge that can match him in terms of his main ability. And no, Pseudo-Sonic doesn't count. The two never met one another, and speed never factored into that story. Sonic manages to pull ahead and dashes back into Robotnik's tower, taunting him and the animals before speeding out of the way just in time for Anti-Sonic to run in after him. The animals beat him up and cage him, while Sonic explains the situation to the alternate Robotnik. The good doctor seems quite eager to research this phenomenon, but Sonic states that he doesn't have much time to waste, as he has to get back to his own universe. We cut to Sonic running back along the Cosmic Interstate, carrying some sort of invention that the anti-Robotnik gave him. Sonic exits the interstate, much to the delight of his completely helpless friends, who cheer as he uses the new doodad to suck up all the sludge and transform it all into bubbles. For some reason, sucking up the sludge causes the machine to start overloading, and it explodes. Okay, then, you'd think it'd be more at risk of exploding from the sludge gunking up the system and causing the pipes to back up, but what do I know? I'm not the malevolent omnidisciplinary scientist here. And we end on Sally giving Sonic a peck on the cheek. Well, that was a thing that happened. A part of me wants to give this story a free pass because a lot of elements were introduced in this story that would come back time and time again, for better or worse, as the stories start to develop a sense of continuity. Anti-Sonic in his world, and the very concept of the Cosmic Highway in multiple universes. Unfortunately, this story was written well before the concept of continuity was a mainstay in the comic, and I doubt that there were any sort of future plans introduced during this time, so I have to look at it as a standalone. And as a standalone, it doesn't really work that well. A single standalone issue wouldn't really be enough to properly explore an anti-world story, let alone a half issue. The thing that holds the story back the most is definitely its potential scale and scope compared to what we actually get. Even as a kid's comic, the plot just blazes by at such a fast pace, dedicating a good chunk of the story to just explaining the concept of what an alternate universe is, so that the kiddies don't get confused. Let's never mind that, even at the time this story was published, the idea of an evil doppelganger in any medium was pretty darn cliché. Anyway, we move on to the second story of the issue, Beat the Clock. Cold open on Coconuts holding all of the freedom fighters, sans Sonic, hostage on top of a cartoonish pile of explosives. Alright, comic, you have my attention. Coconuts continues to say that he'll be the one to capture Sonic, and that Robotnik will be sure to consider him his favorite once he does so. And he does this while showing off a list of Robotnik's top 10 favorite robots. The results are rather surprising. I certainly wouldn't have expected Batbrain to be his top pick, or the fact that Cluck is on the list when he was the direct inspiration for the other chicken robot, Scratch. And so it goes for a few more panels as Coconuts tells us that Sonic's beaten every other robot, so the odds are in his favor. He then unfolds his evil plan, showing that there's no way that Sonic will be able to rescue them because he's held up in Coconuts' evil maze. And then we are shown the evil maze and encouraged to help Sonic navigate it ourselves. Yeah, a lot like most kids' comics of the time, and well before that time as well, they'd sometimes throw a little activity in there to try and hold the child's attention. Kind of like that weird prompt to play your Sega Genesis we had several issues back. Kinda, except not really. Well, a little bit. Well, no, not really. Look, the point is, it's filler for the kids and an excuse not to show any of the obstacles that Sonic has to go through to save his friends. Because God knows we don't have the panel space for it. Sonic unceremoniously leaps through the window, unties his friends, and dashes out while we get the final 3-second countdown. Coconuts is left in the room, and the bomb goes kablooey. And we end on the robot just giving us a shrug and basically saying, "I'll get you next time, Captain Planet," or something similar. This is filler. Rather than do a one-page comic, they just stretch the filler out for several pages. Nothing happens in this story. Of course, they just had to keep it nice and short because otherwise they wouldn't have room for a third story. And so we start the third story, Food for Thought, with Sonic getting himself a great big plate of midnight snacks. He proceeds to eat them all before going to bed, and I'm sure most of you can see where this is going. Well, at least they're being upfront with the fact that this story is primarily going to be taking place in a dream, more specifically, an acid reflux nightmare. And the dream scene begins with the introduction of Sonic the Chili Dog! So, in this dream, it turns out that Sonic's imagining himself and all his friends as junk food. And of course, Sonic's a chili dog, Sally's a soft-serve cone, and so forth. Oh, and this is an excuse to make lots and lots of food and cooking puns. Anyway, Sally shows Sonic a videotape that they were sent via the weird non-existent mail system that Mobius still has. That's apparently of a cooking show, Cooking with Ivo. Turns out that Robotnik has kidnapped Tails, and good God, Tails is hideous in this dream. My God, the Tails doll has competition in the nightmare department now. Anyway, Robotnik is getting ready to drop Tails into a boiling vat of Kisco oil, trademark, and so Sonic immediately leaps into hero mode, dashing off towards Burger-tropolis, and dashes towards the lab. Robotnik orders a surprisingly normal-looking Coconuts to set up the trap, which is, banana peel. And predictably, Sonic slips on it. Hero of Mobius, folks. Next panel, Sonic's been bound down to a conveyor belt as he slowly starts towards a grill with ketchup and mustard cannons above it. Just when it seems like the end for our hero, he wakes up. Just as Sonic is about to swear off junk food for good, Sally and Tails walk in, wishing him a happy birthday, okay, so apparently now it's his birthday, and giving him a huge plate of chili dogs. Sonic happily forgets all about the problem he had wolfing down that midnight snack and begins to gulp down this delight. The end. Well, that story was pointless. Much like the second story, and for the most part the first story as well. The main problem is that due to the structure of once again including 3 stories in a short comic book, there's no chance to give each story the time that it needs. The second and third story would be fine for a pointless backup story on their own if they were expanded a little bit, but since we have 2 in the same issue, there's no time for them. The main story, the one with the most potential, suffers the most, and has to go by the numbers to tell something akin to a complete story, not helped by the fact that about a third of its panel time is used to give the readers a massive exposition dump on the nature of parallel universes and the multiverse theory, which comes off as such a dry, dull, boring experience, they don't even bother trying to insert any terrible puns during this, that I can't imagine any kids would actually take the time to read it. On the positive side, the artwork is really starting to get much better in terms of remaining on model. The characters' expressions are pretty good, and the environments are starting to become a bit more full and vibrant. And as I said, this issue is responsible for introducing several elements that would become mainstays in the series for years to come, particularly Anti-Sonic and the Mobius multiverse, which will be the focus of many a story down the line, for both good and ill. But judging this issue on its own, it disappoints, with 3 small, very rushed stories that just have nothing happen in them. It's a rather telling limitation of a 24-page comic trying to take on an anthology format. Thus, this is a story that's recommended only if you want to get a sense for where some of the later story elements come from, but not much else. Boy, this has been a rough set of reviews, hasn't it? From mediocre to disappointing, and it's not going to get any better considering that next time, we're going back to mediocre again. See you all for Mega Man Issue 2 next time.